Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Manish Shrestha from Haryana School of Business, GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Today we are going to talk on the module Fundamentals of Effective Report Writing from the paper Business Communication. First have a look on the learning objectives. First objective is to know the relevance of report writing. Then, to understand various components of report writing, and finally, to learn the essentials of writing an effective report. A report is a document that provides information about the state of affairs. In a business setting, there are various situations when such reports are required. Generally, a report describes about what is happening, why it happened, and what could be done to handle the current state of affairs. A report provides the relevant information to the persons concerned, generally from the senior management. In the light of information presented in a report, the concerned authority reviews the facts and circumstances and comes out with a decision backed by proper reasoning. A report is prepared with utmost care and formality. Even a small act of casualness during preparation of a report can compromise its credibility and eventually the decision based on it. A report is committed to provide information that is free from any kind of biasness. It is a logical presentation of facts. For that purpose, actual records and data are incorporated while preparing a report. As a business report, it must fulfill the objectives for which it is meant to be created. For example, a sales report must inform about the past and present sales trends, revenue generated, employees employed, territory wise performances, product wise performances, etc. Reports could be prepared for providing facts, understandings, conclusion, and or suggestive course of action. A report is not relevant for a particular industry, but it is professionally used by all types of organizations across different sectors. Overall, it can be stated that a business report offers actual and fact-based information in structured form to the persons concerned that enables them to take an informed decision for managing an issue at hand. For preparing effective reports, it is imperative to understand the basics of effective report writing. Every report to become effective must possess essential elements related to the outline, data, language, styling, illustration, and writing. The following sections will cover all these important aspects of effective report writing. There are various components of report writing. For preparing effective reports, it is imperative to understand the basics of effective report writing. Every report to become effective must possess essential elements related to its outline, data, language, styling, illustration, and writing. Let's have a look on the outline of a report. Outline of a report is also known as structure of a report. Purpose of understanding an outline is to identify various elements of a report and order in which these elements will appear in the report. Although, depending upon the purpose of a report, its structure can change. Still, basic outline remains the same. Broadly, the matter in a report can be divided into three sections, namely pre-pages, main matter, and supporting matter. Please remember not to mention the headings like pre-pages or main matter in your report. These are used just to increase the understanding about the topic. Under each section, various elements are included. Pre-pages. This section includes all the elements which appear before the main body of the report. Under pre-pages, there are few subsections that are to be mentioned. These are front cover. The primary purpose of a front cover is to protect the document. Further, it provides important information such as identification number of the report, context of the report, date, and year. Overall, it is used to create a first impression. Under the subheading Title page, it is the first page of a report. It contains all the information presented in the cover with some additions. It includes information such as a report number, title of the report, name of the organization, who has prepared the report, for whom report is prepared, name of approving authority if required, date and year of submission and approval. Under the subheading Forwarding Letter, it is also considered as a covering letter. It serves the purpose of informing the receiver about the handing over of a report. Another purpose of such letter is to briefly apprise the receiver about the issue and main points mentioned in the report. A preface acts like a prologue for the report, and it is written by the author. It is different from a foreword and a summary. It sets the tone for the reader to go through the report. Under acknowledgement, it is very difficult to prepare a report alone. You always require help from others while preparing different sections of the report. This help could be in the form of permissions, data collection, analysis, typing, structuring, and editing. An acknowledgement provides you a chance to mention the names of persons and organizations that has helped you in preparing the report. Let's see an example of an acknowledgement. We can write in this particular form an acknowledgement. I would like to express my deepest gratitude to my supervisor Mr. R. Saxena for his very kind and continuous guidance, support, encouragement, enlightening feedback, and insightful suggestions throughout all the stages of my project. Thank you for guiding me through a difficult process, for challenging my thinking, for making me stretch beyond what I imagined I could accomplish. Your help and advice have been invaluable, and your enthusiasm for my project kept me going when things seemed to be at standstill. Table of Contents. As reports generally contain the matter grouped under various sections, for the convenience of the reader, a table of contents is created. This table simply indicates the broad headings and subheadings of topics. It also provides the location of a topic in the report through page numbers. List of figures and tables. If report contains tables and figures, its list has to be mentioned here with page numbers. Summary. A summary provided at the beginning of the report offers the reader a prima facie understanding about the main findings of the report. It also acts as a ready reckoner for the report, where broad information is presented in nutshell. The second component of outline of a report is main matter. This section is considered as the heart of the report. The detailed information about the issue at hand is discussed under this section. Broadly, following three elements are discussed under main matter. First is introduction. Introduction. Every report starts with an introduction. The purpose of introduction is to appraise the reader about the basics of the issue. It includes all the fundamental information required for understanding the matter mentioned in the report. Introduction provides a background and scope of the problem, various methods used for collecting information and organizing information, elaboration of special terminology, etc. End portion of the introduction tells you about what to expect in rest of the report. Second subheading is analysis and discussion. This part of the report covers most of the report. It deals with presentation of data in a structured way. Depending upon the issue, relevant data is used and analyzed using various analytical techniques. After that, all the results are explained and discussed for each analysis. There is no set pattern for discussion and it varies from author to author. The third component is conclusion and recommendations. Concluding remarks are written at the end. The purpose of conclusion is to brief out the readers about the inferences from the results. On the other hand, recommendations are suggestive actions on the basis of analysis and results. Recommendations also depend upon the wisdom of the author. Readers are advised to read the recommendations carefully and apply their own judgment whether to use it or not. The third component of outline is supporting matter. It includes all the matter which is mentioned at the end of the report and generally supportive to main matter. Main elements of supporting matter are appendices, bibliography, glossary, and index. Appendix displays all the information which is not required to be included in the main body of the report, but necessary to have an elaborative understanding. It might include detailed calculations, sample documents, questionnaire, etc. Bibliography indicates structured list of published or unpublished works referred during preparation of a report. A proper styling has to be followed to display bibliography. Glossary indicates meaning of technical terms used in the report. And lastly, index provides a location for important concepts used in the report. Let's take an example of an entry in bibliography. As we can see here that there is a particular format that has to be adopted to write a bibliography. For example, here first you have to mention the name of the authors, then the year of publication, then the title of the publication, then the title of the journal wherein it is published, followed by volume and number, and at the end you have to mention the page numbers of the document. After understanding the outline, now it's time to plan and prepare. Under the phase of planning and preparation, various planning related elements are included, like first is for what. This portion focuses on identification of the purpose of a report. It is the reason for which report is created. A reason could be falling sales of a company, launching of a new product, setting a new plant, entering into a new market, employee unrest at the production plant, etc. The reason acts as a reference point for a report. It sets the guideline for the rest of the planning activity, like which type of information to be collected. Next aspect is for whom we are writing a report. Before writing a report, it is important to understand the recipients of the report. Knowledge about audience of the report guides the author about what information to present and in what form. For example, senior management is mostly interested in crisp information, while lower management looks for a detailed one. Depending upon the instruction for submission, it is easy to identify your target audience. It is always important to consider the position of the receiver of report while preparing for it. The next phase is gathering data. Once the purpose is understood and target audience is clear, next stage includes gathering of relevant data. In order to collect accurate and relevant data, knowledge of various data collection techniques are required. Each technique is having its own relevance on the basis of accuracy, ease of collection, time consumption, and ease of analysis. At this point, it is also important to identify the source of information. First, always try to gather maximum information from the existing resources like internal reports, published surveys, websites of consultants, competitors, and other stakeholders. Nowadays, internet has become handy for collecting data. Once the secondary resources are exhausted, primary resources could be used. Primary resources help in generating first-hand data from the respondents. This data could be collected by face-to-face interviewing of respondents, observing the respondents, and getting the surveys questionnaires filled from the respondents. Each data collection method has its own pros and cons. A proper mix of different methods can improve the reliability of collected data. The fourth phase is checking relevance. Once the data is collected, it has to be checked on its relevance and authenticity. Few checking points could be whether the data collected is from authentic source with credibility, does the data fulfills the requirements of the report, whether the data is collected for the relevant time period, and whether the data is fact or opinion based. The final phase under planning is grouping of material. After having all the relevant data collected, it is time to arrange it. All the similar kind of information should be grouped together. Once this step is done, the author will get various chunks of information. These chunks then further require proper connectivity to make it logical. For that, most important information is put first and least important gets the last position. Still, if the author finds something irrelevant or redundant for the report preparation, it could be discarded. Now all the broad groups of informations are connected with each other in the form of topics and subtopics. At the end, an outline is created that helps in proper arrangement and presentation of information. This outline also acts like a guideline to write the text of report. Now, let's consider the component grammar and writing style. For writing an effective report, an understanding of grammar rules and their appropriate usage is utmost important. There is no shortcut for attaining this knowledge. A continuous effort over a period of time with an exposure to verbal communication modes such as books, newspaper, and internet could be useful. More the exposure, faster would be the learning. A proficiency in grammar helps a lot in writing effectively. When it comes to writing style while preparing a report, it is all about how you present the information. It can also be understood as a way of writing. Although every writer is having his or her own style of writing, still few of the guidelines should be followed. Like, every report must possess maximum objectivity in its written material, leaving no space for ambiguity. As far as possible, use direct statements to get more attention of readers. Always write in a language which is easy to read and understand. It is also important to establish commonality of understanding between the writer and the reader. Use common words and phrases. Provide as precise information as possible to avoid confusion. Avoid wordiness in your writing. Say your views in least possible words. Any type of redundancy should be avoided. And be careful, as using brevity principle of writing doesn't mean using short form or abbreviations. Avoid using jargons. Jargons are field specific and lack general understanding. Try to avoid foreign words as much as possible. If you are able to find an easier substitution, always go for it. Always keep a check on the length of a sentence and always keep a check on the length of a paragraph. Overall, it can be stated that for effective writing of reports, all the principles of effective writing has to be followed, especially elements like conciseness, correctness, and clarity. Use simple and understandable language as it is the key for successful writing. Now consider illustrations. Prior to redrafting a report, it is important to substitute it with appropriate visual representations. These visual representations are also known as illustrations. As known to us that a picture is better than 1,000 words, similarly, using visual display of data increases the understanding of the reader. The basic purpose of using illustrations in a report is to present more information in lesser space, support your text, improve comprehension of the reader, and generate interest of the reader. There are different types of illustrations such as tables, graphs, maps, drawing and photographs. Let's try to understand each of the illustration one by one. Tables. Tables are used to depict numerical data in organized form. A table is a matrix having rows and columns wherein data is displayed. Each table should be properly labeled and spaced within the text. Also, the width of all the tables should be same to provide visual uniformity. Graphs. Graphs are pictorial representation of data. It is an alternative to a table as same data can be presented in a different way. There are many graphical options available. Each option has its own suitability for depicting information. The writer has to choose a particular option wisely. For example, pie graphs are used for depicting share or percentage, while bar graphs are used for showing growth. Maps. In certain cases where geographical description is required, maps are used. While using a map, it is important to denote its scale and make sure it is properly indexed. Drawings and photographs. Many times, for explaining technical aspects of a concept, various drawings are being used. Generally, the purpose of a drawing is to show the design or diagram of an object. On the other hand, a picture or photograph is used to show the actual image of an object. In both the cases, it is important to look for the scale or proportion to understand it completely. Now at the end stage, we have to understand the process of writing a report. With all the ingredients in place, it is time to write the report. To start with, a rough draft has to be created. Rough draft might give you a feeling of incompleteness, but it is important to pass through this stage. It is the first step for writing effectively. For writing the report, follow the outline that you have framed earlier. Take each element of outline one by one and start explaining each aspect and move to the next. At this stage, you should keep on writing irrespective of choice of words and connectivity of paragraphs. Always keep your focus on the main objective of report so that you do not lose track while writing. Try to leave space between two lines to leave a space for editing. Once you finish writing the main content of rough draft, start writing and organizing cover and pre-pages. Finally, work on your supporting matter placed towards the later portion of the report. After this step, you will feel that your report has taken a proper shape. Once you have written the rough draft, it is time to give break before you start working on the final draft. The reason for a break is that writing for continuously longer duration gives you monotony and boredom. If you start straight away for your final draft, chances of identifying mistakes reduces and you will end up in finalizing the same draft with mistakes. A gap between two drafts gives you chance to have a fresh and unbiased review. Under the final draft, you have to check and remove any ambiguity, discontinuity, misstatement, and redundancy. After finishing the final draft, it is suggested to review your report on the grounds of outline and structuring as well as language and styling. Once everything is checked and revised, your report is ready for submission to the respective recipient. So students, let's summarize what we have learned in this module. A report is a document that provides information about state of affairs. A report describes about what is happening, why it happened, and what could be done to handle the current state of affairs. It provides the relevant information to the concerned recipient. In the light of information presented in a report, the concerned authority reviews the facts and circumstances and comes out with a decision backed by proper reasoning. A report is prepared with utmost care and formality, and even a small act of casualness during preparation of a report can compromise its credibility and eventually the decision based on it. As a business report, it must fulfill the objective for which it is meant to be created. For preparing effective reports, it is imperative to understand the basics of effective report writing. Every report to become effective must possess essential elements related to its outline, data, language, styling, illustration, and writing. An outline identifies various elements of a report and order in which these elements will appear in the report. Broadly, the matter in a report can be divided into three sections, namely pre-pages, main body, and supporting matter. Preparation and planning elements include identification of purpose of report, target audience, data collection, evaluation of data, and grouping of material collected. For writing an effective report, an understanding of grammar rules and their appropriate usage is utmost important. Style of writing describes the way you present the information. The basic purpose of using illustration in a report is to present more information in lesser space, to support your text, to improve comprehension of the reader, and to generate the interest of the reader. In the end, it is important to create a rough draft and eventually a final draft after required revisions. Thank you.